everybody in the vinyl community, it's Steve from Steve Spins Records, and today we're going to look at one of my absolute favorite albums of all time, Tom Waits' Rain Dogs. And before you get going, I know what you're going to say. Hey, did this schmuck get his hands on a copy of a first pressing of Rain Dogs? No. I actually picked up a bootleg copy unknowingly from my record store, but that's okay because the record sounds pretty decent. And, you know, it's one of those things where you get to a point where you're like, is it okay to have a bootleg record? Maybe, maybe not. This one I made an exception for just because I love Tom Waits so much, and the album was so good, and the original pressing is a bit steep, where I got this one at $25, which I thought was pretty decent. Actually, the first copy I got had some defects on it, so I brought it back, returned it. No muss, no fuss. But again, as far as bootleg records go, this is a pretty good estimation, I suppose, of the original. So this is the ILPS 9803, which is the knockoff island pressing of Tom Waits' Rain Dogs. So again, you see the front cover there. So Rain Dogs was released in September of 1985, and it's like a loose concept album is the best way to think about it, about like urban dispossessed people, right? So it's people that are kind of just going about their lives, not quite working a real 9-to-5 in a city, and brings in a lot of those sounds and a lot of the chaos that they feel. It's been said that the documentary Streetwise has had a big impact on Tom Waits during the time when he was writing this. So that's, you know, kind of the whole thing that was going on. So it's also the middle of a trilogy, the first record being Swordfish Trombones, and then the third record being Frank's Wild Years, excuse me. And Rain Dogs falls right in the middle of that. It's 53 minutes and 46 seconds long. And it was originally on the Island label, which we'll get to here in a sec. It debuted, like I said, in 1985, and then was number 21 on Rolling Stone's greatest rock albums of the 80s. And then it was also number 399 on their 500 greatest albums of all time. So a lot of critical acclaim for Rain Dogs, the album. But yeah, without further ado, let's take a look at the packaging. Like I said, bootleg edition. Saw it for 25 bucks in the store. I was like, I'm willing to take a flyer on it and just see how it goes. Here you got the cover, and then on the back you've got Tom Waits. It is just, in fact, a cardboard sleeve, so nothing too crazy there. The tracks, you've got Singapore, Clap Hands, Cemetery Polka, Jockey Full of Bourbon, Tango Till They're Sore, Big Black Mariah, Diamonds and Gold, Hang Down Your Head, Time, Rain Dogs, Midtown, 9th and Hennepin, Gun Street Girl, Union Square, Blind Love, Walking Spanish, Downtown Train, Bride of Rain Dog, and then Anywhere I Lay My Head. So that's what you get on the outside. I've taken out the inner sleeve, the inner paper sleeve, gone with a MoFi sleeve, and then here's where you can see the label itself. So again, it's a nice gluing. It's, it looks pretty decent. The label itself looks like it's been printed pretty well. The vinyl itself I thought was great. I mean, there's a couple of bips and bobs here, a couple of little hits in the vinyl, but nothing that distracts it from when it's playing. All of it sounds pretty decent. I looked on Discogs. They say it's a little bit low volume, so you may have to turn your system up a bit when you get there. But all in all, one of those things I just really wanted to add to my collection, even if it was a bootleg. I feel like anymore in modern times, things are getting pretty close to where if you get a bootleg, you get a bootleg. And again, I'm not paying for the original. It's just kind of how I wanted to roll. I've got some other Tom Waits that I've picked up, and I thought this was going to be a good Tom Waits to have in the collection. So one day, might I get the actual original pressing? Maybe. We'll see. But for now, this'll be good enough. Some fun facts about the album. Again, the song Downtown Train, I think, was redone by Rod Stewart of great renown, and it may have become a big hit for him. And then Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones plays on this album on a few different tracks. He plays on Big Black Mariah, he plays on Union Square, and he plays on Blind Love. So it's just kind of fun to see these other famous musicians mixing it up and playing instruments on other folks' albums. The Village Voice, so I was looking up reviews on this album, and a lot, it's obviously a lot of high praise for it. It's a very interesting album. No two songs really sound alike. It takes you on a kind of weird journey along the way. I particularly like the song Cemetery Polka a whole lot. Clap Hands is really good as well. And then there's stuff about like Ninth and Hennepin where Tom Waits is just talking and kind of like reading, like not reading, but like telling you a story about what's going on, and it's just very captivating the way he does it. So that's if you haven't heard this album, would highly recommend checking it out. If you're new to Tom Waits, if you don't know Tom Waits, this was actually the first album I listened to from Tom Waits and got me hooked into all of the rest of it. So a lot going on with this album. It's a bit unusual, right? So it's not a typical rock and roll record. It's not a typical folk record. It's somewhere in between rock and blues and folk and performance art to some extent. There's a lot going on where even, Tom Waits, as he's going through, he didn't want to shortcut the sounds of things. He wanted to, bring a dresser into a bathroom and slap it with a 2x4 if that's the sound he needed, and they couldn't get it from a drum. So he was really trying to go after and find the different sounds they needed to make this record and to make it feel like the city that he was in at the time. So again, highly recommend this record. It's not maybe so great for background music. Might not be so great to put on at a party, although I've had Tom Waits on before and people come by and they're like, oh, this is kind of like interesting music. I'm like, yeah, it's Tom Waits. And so you definitely know Tom Waits, but then once you're in Tom Waits, it's anything goes, right? It can be any type of music, and he can go from ballad to spoken word to back and forth, and it's great. It's a really interesting artist, and it's a really interesting album from a really interesting artist is how I'll say it. So with that in mind, again, wouldn't recommend it to everybody. Check it out on Spotify ahead of time. Just see if you like it, and then if you do like it, again, the bootleg pressing I have is perfectly fine, perfectly serviceable for what I'm using it for, just throwing it on every now and then. Maybe one day, when I'm rich and famous, once we get all the likes and subscriptions out there, we can run a GoFundMe to get me the actual first pressing of Tom Waits. I'll listen to it and make a video for you then. But if you made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. Like I said, we go through all vinyl records in my collection. We talk about what's in the package. We talk about what you get with it. We talk about any fun facts or history of the album, and then we go through who might want to listen to the music or what you might want to be doing while you check it out. So with that in mind, be sure to hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe too, because we do this pretty often. I try to make videos every now and then, put them out maybe Mondays and Fridays and go from there. So with that in mind, I'm Steve from Steve Spins Records, signing off.